surface, after a while of it being dry, it's being kind of mixed with the water that has laid down. It's a mixture of, like, you know, oil, grime, dirt, that sort of stuff. General, you know, stuff that soaks into the concrete or tarmac, and then when you get a heavy downpour, it draws it out and it creates this foam on the surface of the road. If anything, it's an indication of to be careful when you're driving, because it's very slippery. It is more slippery than it would be when it was normally wet. So that's always something to look out for. Point of note. Now, the 5s, how am I getting on with them? Well, I'm very impressed. The first few miles weren't great, I must admit, but once I knocked the sheen off them and I've scrubbed about 200 miles into them now, they've come into their own. They're very grippy, the road noise is minimal, the road feedback is very good. I'm not getting so much negative feedback through the steering wheel. The turning is very tight on the car, it's a lot better, and it doesn't tramline as much when you're we have a lot of heavy goods traffic in this area, and when I'm going to work, it doesn't kind of, like when I had the Goodyears on, it would snatch you into the tram lines, but doesn't work, doesn't happen now. Sorry, doesn't happen. The car does still tramline a bit, because all cars will, but it doesn't snatch you in. You've got a lot more control, and at speed the car is very, very nicely planted and quiet. So overall, the Rainsport 5s, after an initial, once you scrub them in, they're a good tyre. I will admit that the first 20 or 30 miles I was a little bit disappointed, because it felt like I was driving on balloons basically. The car felt very squidgy, and it just was quite, it wasn't awful to drive, but it wasn't great. You know, it wasn't as good as when I had the Goodyears. But once you scrub that sheen off them, once they start coming in, and after 200 miles, which is what they've done now, they're fantastic. I can't complain. The one thing I will mention is that when you put new tyres on and you replace worn ones, I'll go this way. There's, you know, people say you should get vastly improved braking. Well, I'll be honest, I haven't noticed any improvement on the braking. The car still stops as it did. It doesn't. I haven't felt any improvement in that area. But with regards to grip, noise, turning, and the general feel of the car, they are new tyres. It's going to be improved. But the Rainsport 5s definitely do offer a good level of grip for the budget, for the price point that they offer. So I'm just going to follow this very nice Porsche along here. It's drying out now, we just had a big thunderstorm. So overall impressions of the Rainsport 5s, they're a good dry tyre. They suit an Impreza very well, I've found. If you've got an Impreza, you could do a whole lot worse. They don't suit every car, they don't suit everybody. But from my personal experience, in the 200 miles that I've scrubbed them in, I've done some hard cornering, I've done some, you know, I've driven the car hard, coming out of bends, coming out of corners, and it's been completely planted. The car hasn't even suggested to break free. They're not understeering, the car doesn't understeer. Is there a dab of oversteer? I'm not sure, I haven't tried it yet, but I haven't felt anything. I haven't felt the car wanting to break away. And when you've got an all-wheel drive car, they tend not to oversteer. They tend to slide, to be honest with you. They tend to slide across, but they certainly don't give any indication that they're going to understeer or oversteer. The geometry of the car isn't perfect, but the tyres have certainly, the Goodyears tended to understeer quite a bit because they were warm, but these ones, no suggestion of that whatsoever. So pros and cons. Pros are the Uniroyals, have gone through them. Cons, feel slightly squidgy to begin with. They're not great, I'll be honest, they're not great at low speed manoeuvring. They do tend to squeal and squeak quite a bit. and you're sort of turning in or doing some low speed manoeuvring. Probably just a soft compound of the tyre. That's pretty much the only complaint. I've heard that they don't wear very well, but that time will tell on that. I'm going to do another review in a few months, or maybe 2 months time. By then I'll have done approximately 1,500 miles on the tyres, and then we can give a more informed sort of idea and review about how they're performing. But initial first impressions are good. So I hope you like that. Give us a like, give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one.